Here are the headlines for Monday evening, September 2, 2024. Why did Mark Zuckerberg choose now to confess? Mark Zuckerberg's admission that Meta platforms, including Facebook and Instagram, censored information at the request of the Biden White House has significant implications for free speech in the United States. The revelation comes as litigation over free speech is set to return to the Supreme Court in the case of Missouri v. Biden, which was previously dismissed due to a lack of standing by the plaintiffs. With hundreds of thousands of pages of evidence yet to be revealed to the public, Zuckerberg's admission provides a first official peek into the global silencing of critics at all levels of society, resulting in manipulated election outcomes and distorted public culture. Watch, United States soldiers assaulted by Turkish mob after Navy ship makes port call at Izmir. A group of ultra-nationalist Turkish men attacked American soldiers who were on liberty in the city of Izmir in southern Turkey after their ship, the United States ship WASP, made a port call. The attackers, reportedly from the Turkey Youth Union, physically assaulted two American service members, attempting to humiliate and possibly kidnap them while chanting "Yankee, go home." The incident was caught on social media video, showing one soldier being restrained and having a white bag placed over his head before other American troops intervened. Iraq cracks down on lottery-based suicide cult that has seen dozens of deaths. A young population in Iraq is increasingly vulnerable to extremist groups due to economic stagnation, corruption, and war since the overthrow of Saddam Hussein in 2003. The Alahiyya movement, which emerged recently, has been labeled as deviant by politicians and religious figures for its ideology that violates the Iraqi constitution. However, experts argue that the group's activities are part of a broader issue of social challenges faced by young people, including poverty, unemployment, and government neglect. The youth unemployment rate in Iraq stood at 32.23% in 2023, with many excluding those without connections in government or religious institution. Eric Weinstein, I don't know whether Trump will be allowed to become president. Eric Weinstein argued that Donald Trump's presidency disrupted the old rules-based international order, which is designed to control global stability. Trump's unorthodox approach challenged the status quo, exposing flaws in the system and revealing that populist leaders have a more complex and significant impact on democracy and international agreements than previously understood. The 2016 presidential election showed that the traditional primary structure, where two parties prune the field of populist candidates, no longer works, as Trump broke through, despite being unacceptable, to the international order. This has created an unsolved problem for the State Department, Intelligence Community, and Defense Department, which must now confront the American people about the risks of voting in populist candidates who may threaten established alliances. International Criminal Court informs Mongolia it must arrest Putin when he arrives. The International Criminal Court is urging Mongolia to detain Russian President Vladimir Putin when he visits the country on Monday, citing its obligation as a signatory of the Rome Statute. The court has issued an arrest warrant for Putin over allegations of war crimes and human rights abuses in Ukraine, while Mongolia has long been a close regional ally of Russia and remains neutral on the Ukraine war. It is legally obligated to cooperate with the International Criminal Court. Failure to do so could result in significant repercussions from the Assembly of States parties. David Stockman on the mother of all housing bubbles. The Federal Reserve's monetary policies have led to a widening wealth gap in the United States, with the top 1% of households experiencing significant gains, while middle-class income stagnating. The average income of middle-class households rose by only 3.5% over a 10-year period, from $4,046 billion to $4,079 billion. Meanwhile, the consumer price index increased by 19% during the same time frame, resulting in a double-digit loss for these households. The Fed's strategy of repressing interest rates was intended to stimulate spending and investment, but instead led to a surge in housing prices and debt, benefiting wealthy asset owners at the expense of middle-class Americans. Kyle Bass says green war to blackball oil was doomed to fail. Kyle Bass, founder of Heyman Capital Management, attributes the backlash against environmental, social, and governance investing to radical climate activists who demand an immediate end to fossil fuel usage without considering the decades-long transition period required for energy transition. He argues that these demands are unrealistic and have fueled a reaction from states like Texas, which has led to blackballing of companies involved in hydrocarbon production. Bass advocates for a more moderate approach, focused on efficiency and electrification, with nuclear power as the long-term goal, acknowledging that fossil fuels and renewable energy sources will coexist for decades to come. Ukraine presents White House with list of targets deep inside Russia. Ukraine's defense minister Rustem Umerov revealed that the Ukrainian government has presented a list of significant targets deep inside Russia to the Biden administration for approval to strike. The White House is actively considering lifting restrictions on Ukraine's use of long-range missiles, which could lead to a major escalation in the conflict. Ukraine has been intensifying its lobbying efforts with Washington to secure President Joe Biden's green light for the use of United States missiles for longer-range attacks. In an interview with CNN, Umerov stated that Ukraine has presented the United States a list of targets that would use a TACMS to strike, including airfields used by Russia to hit Ukrainian cities. The Biden administration is reportedly mulling over the lifting of all restrictions on Ukraine's use of a TACMS system's range and use, which could have severe consequences for the region. Russia updating nuclear weapon doctrine due to Western escalation of Ukraine war. Russia is revising its doctrine on the use of nuclear weapons in response to Western escalation in Ukraine. The updated doctrine is expected to lower the threshold for nuclear weapon use, increasing the potential for global conflict. Under current doctrine, Russia may use nuclear weapons when it faces an existential threat, including an attack on its territory or the threat of invasion. Foreign policy realist John Mearsheimer warns that threatening Russia's survival could lead to nuclear war. With approximately 5,500 nuclear warheads and a diversified set of delivery systems, Russia's arsenal should give Western policymakers pause. The United States hates women. Arizona State University event offers dystopian anti-capitalist vision of America. A recent event at Arizona State University featured professors Jenny Irish and Angela Lober discussing their dystopian vision of America, which they claimed can be avoided by dismantling capitalism and electing a female president. Irish expressed fear that the United States could see forced breeding camps and cannibalism, while Lober asserted that the country hates women and everything the female body does. The event was part of a growing anti-capitalist movement on campuses, with some faculty members calling for socialism and others expressing concerns about the erosion of individual liberty. The rise of global conformism. The worldwide implementation of COVID-19 policies was uniquely rapid, coinciding with the author's last years at his university. The phenomenon of toxic global conformism has been amplified by social media and the internet, leading to international bodies controlling online communication. Global conformity is not organic or reasonable, but rather imposed by those in power despite objections from many. Examples of this conformity can be seen in various areas, such as bug eating being promoted in Western media and cultural circles, eventually spreading to other parts of the world, including Japan and even the religious world, where megachurch leaders and academic pundits support insect consumption, citing biblical texts and church traditions as evidence. Oil tanker and merchant ship hit by projectiles as another tanker burns, risking worst spill this century. Iran-backed Houthi militants targeted 2 ships with missiles and drones in the Red Sea, hitting a Panama-flagged oil tanker and a merchant vessel, amid ongoing turmoil in the region. The attacks come as the world braces for what could be one of the worst tanker spills this century, with the Greek-flagged oil tanker MV Sunyan burning and potentially leaking oil into the sea. The ship is carrying 150,000 tons of crude oil from Iraq, which could lead to a spill 4 times larger than that of the Exxon Valdez, making it the 5th worst oil spill in history. 1.6 million migrants in the United Kingdom are unemployed, costing taxpayers £8.5 billion, report. The Center for Immigration Control has revealed that almost 1.7 million foreigners residing in the United Kingdom are out of work or economically inactive, costing taxpayers an estimated $8.5 billion per year. This estimate does not include the costs of asylum seekers, who are often placed into 4-star hotels, and foreign students. The Institute for Fiscal Studies has also reported that the Home Office spent a staggering $7.9 billion in just 3 years on asylum, border, and visa management, exceeding its budget by $7.6 billion. Global markets slump. China tumbles to 7-month low, an ugly start, the worst month of the year. The SAM 500 index closed just 0.33% beneath its all-time high from mid-July, despite the Magnificent 7 falling 1.89% over the week. However, several indices hit all-time records by Friday, including the equal-weighted SAM 500 and the Dow Jones. Meanwhile, in Europe, the STOXX 600 closed at an all-time high as well, having posted a 1.34% gain last week. Kerrisdale offers tongue-in-cheek disclaimer updates on First Short following Andrew Left indictment. Kerrisdale Capital updated its disclaimer in a recent report, referencing the Securities and Exchange Commission's complaint against short seller Andrew Left. The update reveals that Kerrisdale may trade around positions before and after publication, which has raised eyebrows among investors. In response to criticism, Kerrisdale argued that disclosing directional bias is sufficient, rather than providing hypothetical trading intentions that may not be accurate. This comes as activists. Short sellers are tweaking their disclaimer language to increase transparency in the wake of Left's indictment. United States schools in mad dash to spend CEO VID cash as deadline looms. School districts across the country have 30 days remaining to spend their post-CEO VID relief grant money, totaling $40 billion, before it must be returned to the United States Treasury. According to Georgetown University's Edunomics Lab, 9 school districts still need to submit over $20 million each in previously granted funds for reimbursement. The districts that have not spent all of their allocated funds include Syracuse City in New York, Clark County in Nevada, Milwaukee Public Schools in Wisconsin, and Hillsborough County Public Schools in Florida. The districts have used the funds to hire additional teachers and staff, upgrade athletic facilities, provide tutoring services, and offer mental health services. Some district officials have stated that they are on track to spend their entire budget before the deadline of September 30th. Fentanyl responsible for 81% of overdose deaths under 24. In 2022, approximately 292 million people worldwide used illegal drugs, with 60 million consuming opioids such as morphine, codeine, or heroin, according to the latest United Nations World Drug Report. Opioids are the second most widely used class of illicit drugs globally, after cannabis, which has approximately 228 million users. Synthetic opioids like fentanyl have become the leading cause of drug overdose deaths, accounting for almost 74,000 deaths in 2022, with fentanyl being 50 times more potent than heroin and becoming a preferred choice for illegal drug manufacturers due to its ease of production and low cost. Turkey formally requests to join Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, citing frustration in European Union bid. Turkey has formally requested to join the BRICS group of emerging economies, which includes Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, according to informed sources, cited by Bloomberg. The move is seen as an attempt by Turkey to bolster its global influence and forge new ties beyond its traditional Western allies, with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan believing that the geopolitical center of gravity is shifting away from developed economies. Turkey's accession talks for European Union membership have faced several obstacles since they began in 2005, leading to growing frustration and a desire to explore alternative alliances. The failure of economic statistics. The author of this article questions the accuracy of United States government economic data, specifically the jobs numbers reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics (BLS). The BLS has been overstating job growth for 2 years by approximately 1.2 million jobs that do not actually exist. This error is attributed to a statistical model used by the BLS called the birth-death rate, which estimates business formation and dissolution based on historical data. However, this method can produce inaccurate results during times of significant economic disruption, such as the recent lockdowns caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The author predicts that the true state of the economy will become apparent after the November election, with a possible recession being revealed in January that could extend for 6 months or more. These were the best and worst performing assets of August and year-to-date. The month of August was marked by significant volatility in financial markets, triggered by a weak United States jobs report that raised fears of an economic downturn. The report showed non-farm payrolls were softer than expected at 114,000 in July, with downward revisions to previous months and a rise in the unemployment rate to 4.3%. This led to a massive slump in Japanese markets on August 5th, with the TOPIX index falling by over 12% in a single day. However, calm returned after better data and a dovish message from Federal Reserve Chair Powell at Jackson Hole helped reassure investors. As a result, global stocks and bonds rose in August, with both the SAM 500 and United States Treasuries posting their 4th consecutive monthly advance. Where did NVIDIA leave the artificial intelligence narrative? Goldman's top trader discusses August aftershock. The head of hedge fund coverage at Goldman Sachs, Tony Pasquariello, believes that the events of August 2024 will be remembered as a significant reference point for a long time. Key events this week: payrolls, jobs openings, and labor turnover survey, Institute for Supply Management, and Federal Reserve speakers galore. As the month of September begins, investors should be cautious given the track record of recent years, which has seen losses in the S&P 500 and Stoxx 600 indices for 4 consecutive Septembers. The Nasdaq Composite Index has also performed poorly during this time, with Bloomberg's global bond aggregate down for 7 consecutive Septembers. However, August was a strong month, particularly after the Federal Reserve's dovish pivot, which led to a rebound in the markets. This week, all eyes are on the United States jobs report on Friday, which will be pivotal in determining the direction of interest rates at the next Federal Reserve meeting. Economists expect non-farm payrolls to come in at 165,000 in August, with the unemployment rate ticking down to 4.2%. Seasonality and straddles. We are about to enter a rather poor seasonality, especially if you look at election years, which typically experience weaker economic performance due to market uncertainty and investor caution.